4th down, the final play.
Here we go.
Unless they can stick it in the end zone. Dorsey under pressure, throws it. Incomplete. The Buckeyes win. Ezekiel Elliott, and he's got an opening. Elliott off to the races. Can they catch him?
Feature the two backs as receivers, and now a downfield shot on first down for the end zone. Touchdown, Ohio State strikes first. Making the judgments again, and there is Smith running free, breaks a tackle. Ohio State strikes quickly from 45 yards. Pressure comes. Sword, knocked it out, and picks it up. Jackson coming down the sidelines. Ohio State scoop and score and dagger from 82 yards.
Here they come.
Heavy pressure. Howard delivers downfield. And Smith, he's got it. Jeremiah Smith. 2025 college football national champion, Coach Ryan Day, and the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Welcome in, Buckeye backers. We are bringing it to you live from Seattle, Washington, to the cornfields of Enon, Ohio. We are the pulse of Buckeye fans across the nation, with Seattle Matt and Buckeye Steve. Welcome in, Buckeye backers. Here we go. We got an excellent show coming to you. We got none other than Lincoln Kienholz, Coach Steele. Welcome to the show, Coach Steele. How you doing?
Doing wonderful, guys. Thanks for having me on.
And to help us out with today's show, we got Dev from the Buckeye Boys, man. What
yes,
up?
sir. Just wanted to explain something real fast. I saw this button that says stream this on your channel as well, pretty much. So I hit it. So if anybody's on my channel watching, this is a Buckeye Backer show. We're just streaming it on the Buckeye Boys platform as well. So more outreach for the fans, the Ohio State fans, man. This is what we do. I love it. Appreciate you, Coach Steele, for coming in and spending some time with us, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, first of all, we gotta ask you, what was Lincoln like in high school, man?
Well, so first off, and you guys aren't the only ones. I said a lot of people, and this is normal right now because he was lower on the depth chart, but it's Kienholz. So it's Lincoln Kienholz. A lot of people say Kienholz right now, and that's okay. I said I think everyone will get there. But I mean, he was a really special talent. Honestly, all the way back to 7th grade. And he was a kid that I bet you if you'd ask him honestly through his freshman year, football is probably his 3rd favorite sport, just because he was so talented at everything. He'd played hockey through his childhood. He played basketball. He played baseball. He did track. He had a Division I basketball offer and had a chance to get drafted to the major leagues. So, he was really good at everything he did, and he was very natural.
And that's one thing I gotta talk to you about, man. The Kienholz thing. I never knew. There's so many people saying it different ways. That was one of the questions I had for you, actually. So I'm glad you cleared that up, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, not a problem.
So we got to talk a little bit about you, though, first. 7 state titles in a row. Man, how did that happen? And you're only 35?
Yeah, no, we got here and we started this when I was young but we've been really fortunate to have a great run of players too. I mean, Lincoln being a part of 4 of them. We had the Gatorade Player of the Year prior to Lincoln. So the quarterback prior to Lincoln was a Gatorade Player of the Year for us. And then we should have our first NFL player here, and hopefully at the end of the month getting a draft pick out of North Dakota State. We've had really, really good players here. It's a great community. They really support their kids. They really support their coaches. And, I said it's just been really, really fun to see this whole program change and unfold to what it's become today.
Yeah, I got to be honest, man. When I hear that there's a coach that has won 7 state titles, I'm looking for like a lot of gray hair, a lot of wrinkles, maybe big old beard or something like that. And I know I mentioned it to you before, but I'm like, wow, man, you're an awful young coach, man, to have won 7 state titles already. Great accomplishment in your coaching career. Dude, that has to be exciting as a coach to have one of your players about to go to the NFL, man. Is that how's that make you feel, man?
Yeah, I mean it's a pretty surreal thing. I mean, we kind of seen his progression the last couple of years of maybe being a draft pick to then maybe being a mid-round draft pick, and then honestly going into the Senior Bowl was kind of second round, and then he had a great Senior Bowl, and now they're talking maybe not even to 20. So just a crazy thing. Whether or not he gets drafted Thursday, Friday, Saturday, it's going to be a really cool deal. Should probably be the first draft party ever in this town, so it'll be a really neat thing, and hopefully the sign of what's to come.
Yeah, and I saw people post it's like something to celebrate for all of the Dakotas, like because it was North Dakota Bison.
Yeah.
You got your boy there, and then South Dakota's got a party too because you know what, our boy just is getting drafted first round. It's got to be exciting,
Yeah.
and then you got this on the backbone of it, along with a guy at Nebraska that's waiting to get in the mix to start.
Yeah, I think that's kind of been the fun part, in my 9 years here, seeing the progression of just in general South Dakota high school football. There's been a lot of more big-time recruits coming out of the state than there was when I first started. So, I mean, not just from our school, but, you're seeing a lot of other ones too coming out of the States. And, we're seeing there's quite a few tight ends in the NFL now from the state of South Dakota, and that'll probably be our next high-profile recruit right now. We've got a 4-star sophomore that's a tight end too. So I think you're starting to see more and more players come out of the state and have some success at high levels.
Absolutely. And people don't think of, those Northern Plains states as having great football, but you look at the Bisons, you look at the Jackrabbits, there's great football there. It's just people don't know about it as much because it's not in the mainstream.
Yeah, and it's just different. I think in Big Ten it's perfect for Big Ten country. We're not going to probably have your burners. You're going to go south to get them. But what you get is you get a lot of really hard-working blue-collar kids that really understand, the amount of toughness that goes into the game of football. And then I think you also get a lot of multi-sport athletes. I think when you go to bigger metropolitan areas or some of the places down south, it's all about football, 24/7, 365. And, I know we'll probably chat about it here, but that's one of the biggest advantages I feel we have and that Lincoln has is that he was always competing. And, maybe technically that's a little bit of a blow to your football quarterback technique, but there's got to be something to be said for, getting done winning a state championship in football and then immediately getting out to the basketball court a week or two later and then going to the baseball field and then starting all over again.
Yeah, and he was All-American in 2 sports?
He was all state in all 3 sports. So, he was,
wow.
and if he would have been able to go to the track meet that happened to be the same time, he probably could have been a state champion, high jump and long jumper too.
That's kind of wild, man. That's wild. Coach, I gotta ask a question, man. Just popped in my head, but obviously college football has changed, in particular the recruiting, and you've been around enough and you've had some high profile players come out of your school. Kind of a 2-parter, man. Kind of walk us through like when the kids are being recruited by colleges, how does that affect you? Like, does it cause you stress, man? How much do you get involved in that? Is it kind of depend on the family? And then how have you seen that change as far as from your perspective on how a high school coach gets involved in players' recruitments?
Yeah, I think it's changed incredibly in the last 9 years. Thinking back to the very beginning, I don't want to say there's not rules now, but there's not as many rules now, where back then there was, and it was a lot of by the book. They're going to come into school and they're going to sit down and chat, and there wasn't a whole lot of everything else going on. And obviously NIL wasn't a thing 9 years ago. Where, I don't know that it was stressful for me per se, but that Lincoln was kind of our first high profile kid where, you do feel a little bad because they go from, he's getting calls. I remember teaching in the building with him and he's getting calls all day, and it's hard for a high school kid to keep straight. This coach is at this school and then he leaves and goes to a different school. And then, that the amount of movement and coaching along with just the amount of contacts. And I don't want to say pressure. There's definitely certain coaching staffs that put more pressure on kids than others. But it's just a tough position for people. And especially for kids, I think in the Midwest small town where you kind of see the best of everybody. It's hard for some of those kids to tell people no. And, I think that eventually it arrives at that point where you have to tell everybody but one person no. And that's a challenge for some kids too. So, I think in some areas, maybe it's not as tough as I think it can be in the Midwest. But just with the type of people that I think the Midwest has and is known for, it can be a challenge for those kids.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's kind of one of the things that I wanted to know. Who did he lean on in recruiting, and when did you find out he was that special player? Like, what point in his career as a high school quarterback?
Yeah, so he started for us as a sophomore, and he was good. And the hard part as a sophomore is he was probably 6 foot, barely, maybe 6'1" and a toothpick, but he had a really natural arm and really good compete level. And then his junior year, he was our only returning starter. I mean, we'd graduated everybody but him, and he came back and we really won a state championship we had no business winning, and a large portion of that was Lincoln. And I think at that point we were like, okay, well, I think he's pretty good. We broke the state record for passing yards because, that was him. I mean, we knew that he was our best hope, and he was kind of our running back that year too. We had a couple injuries at running back his junior year, so he was 1,000-yard rusher and a 3,500-yard passer, and kind of. I don't remember for sure, but I think he pretty much scored, whether throwing or rushing, 90% of our touchdowns. And just the way that he was doing it, the ball's getting out. It's got a lot of RPMs on it. And when he's running, he's not, holding people off. He's pulling away from people. So, again, not that we're known for speed, but if you're pulling away, if you're the fastest player on the field and you can throw and stuff, we kind of figured he was going to be pretty special. And then, right after his junior year is when everything went crazy.
So as an Ohio State fan, man, that the Ohio State fan base, bro, they diagnose absolutely everything. And one of the things that we've heard about Lincoln is everybody knows he's a tremendous athlete, right? And you have some fans that kind of question, hey, man, does he have the arm talent to play at this level? I'm not one of those fans. I'm rooting for Lincoln right now. I've been telling people, you better watch out, man, for Lincoln. Everybody wants to, I know Julian's got a lot of hype and whatnot, but I think Lincoln Kienholz, he passed for 3,500 yards. And I'm getting to a question here. You've been around a lot of quarterbacks. We know he's an athlete. We know he can outrun and very skilled there. Can you walk us through him as a passer? Is he able to diagnose defenses well? What's his motion like? Has he got some zing on the ball? Just kind of tell us what he is as a passing quarterback.
Yeah, I think in terms of throwing, that was, again, the only reason we had any prayer of winning the title that we did his junior year was how well he could throw the ball. And this is kind of a little funny story into that side of it. We had a line that year that had 2 guys injured starting the season. So we started with 2 linemen that were under 200 pounds. Not ideal. No. And I remember we had this conversation as an offensive staff of like, okay, well, we have easily the best quarterback in the state, and we're going to have about 2 seconds to throw the ball. And we actually played with like 6-foot splits on the offensive line for a few games until we got some guys back 6 feet. And just the idea that we can block some of those guys by just lining them up far enough away from the ball. And then, that was a lot of what our drills were, where, we had a metronome, we had a stopwatch, and it was at 2.5, that ball better be out of your hands or you're going to die. And he did throwing for 3,500 yards and being told that day one, kind of demonstrates how well he was able to pick things up. And, obviously the passing game in high school is very, very more vanilla, in terms of reads and progressions than it is at Ohio State. Our defenses that we see are very, very, very vanilla comparatively. For the most part, you're looking at, you can diagnose the coverage and they might have one movement out of it. So it's pretty easy to say this or that for him. But he did a phenomenal job of all that. And honestly, his senior year, he got to call quite a bit. So
Oh, wow.
Being able to do that as a high school kid, that made it really fun for us, because then we could add things as much as we wanted. And he was able to say, okay, well, we don't want to run that here, so let's go over here. We had a game where we were down 21 points, and we came back and won by 2 possessions in the second half. And one of those games, he had a check where we had a goal line route, and he's looking, and we have a play called, and he just knows, like, nope, we got to kill it, because I've got our tight end to the corner and wide open. Made a heck of a throw, and we did that 2 times that game, both on his call. So, I mean, he's able to diagnose those things pre-snap, and when he finds a matchup, I think that's the competitive side that we really loved about him as a sophomore, is he just understood, competition. Like, hey, I have a better player here than you do, and I can get him into a route that's going to put him into a one-on-one. Yeah, pretty similar with Jeremiah Smith, I would assume, right? Where he's probably going to be better than a lot of people. Yeah, so he can just say, hey, our guy's better than your guy. I need to get a route where it gets him all by himself, and then he'll go win the ball.
That was actually one of the questions I had, because that's what I noticed in the scrimmage. I was there. I got to see it. He was spreading the ball around to everyone. He looked like he could diagnose the play before some of the other quarterbacks, and looked like he could read where he wanted to go from the start. He was getting the ball out quick, spreading it around. I didn't see a lot of contacts to Jeremiah Smith from him, but I'm glad that you answered that question, that he can get it to the guy who's the man, really. The GOAT. Yeah. Jeremiah Smith has to touch the ball 15 times a game, and as long as everyone on the team realizes that, we're going to be in good shape as Buckeye fans.
Yeah, and that's probably, honestly, a big change for him, because so much of our game planning philosophy here was to find those matchups and then just attack. We had a couple really good receivers, as well as a tight end that's now at North Dakota State. That's the one that was in that story. But we had another Division II wide receiver that he was really good friends with, and anytime he saw that he had that matchup, he's just like, well, yeah, let's take it. He always had that, but he focused so much more on that. And I think the progression side of everything now is the part that's a little bit more complicated, but he's doing a great job picking it up.
And you mentioned his confidence. You mentioned his confidence before we started getting on here live. That is the one thing that I saw. You talked about his junior year being his strong year. Well, he's going into his junior year at Ohio State. You said his confidence up. Speak to us on this confidence that he's got now.
Yeah, I think kind of his high school progression, as a freshman, he was our backup quarterback, got a lot of time. And I think he kind of alluded to that in some of the stuff that he said, where, you're kind of looking for direction. You're the young guy. You're the one that's just trying to learn and absorb. And then his sophomore year, when it was him, he still felt kind of young to really, truly be that leader, I think, just because you're 16-year-old with 18-year-olds and all that. And his junior year was, he was the only returning starter. So it was kind of all right, I guess this is me now, and the swagger that he had that year, and just the kind of, hey guys, he's not necessarily a massive vocal leader, but it's just this is the job, guys. Let's go get it done. And he did that all season as a junior, and then obviously unquestioned as a senior. But that just competitive swagger is something that, talking to him when he was home before spring ball and stuff, he's got it. And, I would very, very have a hard time picking against him when he gets to that swagger moments.
It sounds like, because something to remind the listeners of, Buckeye fans, anybody else listening, is that you're hearing a coach describe a quarterback that was all state in 2 other sports as well, why he's doing all this. So it's not like he's got a lot of time in the off season to do this. One of our listeners says, Lincoln, he even deer hunts blindfolded. So it sounds like he does a lot. That's just a joke. But anyway, and that's one of the things, man. Came to the Buckeyes late, I believe. He was not an early enrollee, right? Because he was playing other sports. And that's why I'm so big on Lincoln this year. It's because, it's going to take him a minute. This is the first time in his life he's only focusing on football. And that's what I want you to touch on, Coach. Being that you were around him, you saw this and you see what he was able to do while also exceeding expectations at 2 other sports, which is absolutely wild to even say out loud. But how did that impact his game? Obviously it didn't impact his on-field play, but do you think you could have seen more from him there if he was able to just focus on football?
Sure, you definitely could have, but I think that the thing that you would get some more technique work, and I think you would get that just from doing anything full time, right? But you wouldn't have the competitiveness that I think you have. And I think that's what he's addicted to in that sense, is he loves to win and he loves competing. Because he's a guy that for football, when we went to team defense, he'd go play receiver for the scout team and he'd be like, I'm going to go moss this guy, because he just wants to go and be the best. And it's hard to do that in the off season when you're not competing in high school. So, I just think that's what I'd say more than anything else about him. And I know he struggled a lot with that decision because, again, as a quarterback, especially a mid-year is pretty important to be there if you want to get into that conversation as quick as you can. But I think that the loyalty of him to stick with his buddies and say, hey, they ended up winning the state baseball championship right before he left, actually.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, it was a worthwhile that he stayed, but he did it for his friends just as much as he did it to enjoy his senior year and the sports that he was playing.
You got to have a lot of respect for a guy like that. In this day and age, like, you get a jump on everyone being there in the weight room, in the nutrition program, getting acclimated to a new university. You're changing your life. You're going across the country. He went from a town of 14,000 people to a city, a metropolis in Columbus, Ohio, 300,000 in city limits, but outside it, it's over 1 million. That's a big change for a high school kid. And now he's got these big changes coming too. Like, he's starting to get this hype. Like, everyone's talking about Kienholz, right? Kienholz, sorry.
Kienholz. Yeah.
I'm going to get that right by the end of this.
Yeah. No, it's all right. But and that's one of the things that I think that the whole recruiting process led him to, is it was one of those things where he's just, in order to be the best, if I want to be the best quarterback and I want to go to the NFL, this is the spot I've got to go. Because if I'm the best quarterback at Ohio State, I'm an NFL quarterback. And at the end of the day, I think that was, he loves the environment. He loves that. But, everyone's got good facilities at this point at that level. You're not going to go anywhere and be like, wow, what's this? And I think that's what it really came down to for him, was he wanted to be the best. And in order to be the best, he felt that's where he had to go.
Yeah. What was that like with Washington, though? Having to tell where you committed. He's a committed type of guy, right? He stuck around for his brothers, got that state title with the baseball team. But man, that's got to be hard to make that decision. Hey, this isn't right for me. And he said, God led me there.
Yeah, and again, it's a hard for someone as loyal as Lincoln, and again, his staying in high school was a loyal thing to his friends and to his teammates here. That's a tough thing. Again, when he really truly respects you, it's really hard for any kid like that, I guess, but it was hard for him to be able to do that. But again, ultimately, that's the most important thing, is that he's able to do right for his future, and that's what he felt was best for his future.
So as a high school coach, man, I kind of got a different question for you, like off a different trail here. Obviously, you can see we love the Ohio State Buckeyes, right? I'm not asking or expecting this answer to be Ohio State, but kind of walk us through, like, these colleges that you see play on the field and stuff. As a coach, do you see certain colleges that you would rather some of your players go to over other ones, or does it depend on position? Or I understand an opportunity is an opportunity, right? But are there certain colleges that are really, really high end at developing and you hope your players can get into? I'm not asking you to list those or anything. If you want to, by all means, get her done, but no need to.
Yeah, I think so much of that is based on the kids' goals. And then also on the kid's position, and I think, again, with Lincoln being a quarterback, it's just totally different, because the best quarterback schools are not your best tight end schools, or not necessarily your best O-line schools. And again, a lot of that goes around to what's the kid's goals, because again, ultimately as their coach, that's what I want them to do, is I want them to accomplish their goals, and where I want them to go doesn't matter, where any suggestions I have at the end of the day doesn't matter. This is about them. And, I think that's, that's kind of the thing I would say for all of our kids in different positions is, we have a tight end right now. Where are the best tight end schools? Because if you want to go to the NFL, the ones that are producing the most NFL tight ends are probably the ones you want to get into. If you want to have the best game day experience or facilities, or if you have a degree that you really want that a school is known for, then that's where you need to go. So, I feel my job as their coach is more to help them think through, one, figure out what they truly want. At the Ohio State level, you're going to get a free degree, and it's going to be a good degree. There's no bad Big Ten degree, and it's going to be free if you're on scholarship. So that's really what it's about, is helping them figure out what they truly want at the end of the day, and then, figuring out what the best place for that is.
Amen.
So how do you think Lincoln's changed in the last couple of years in Columbus?
He looks like a machine now. Yeah, he makes you feel very bad about your own body, just because he is just any of those college athletes, they go out and they come back and they just look like they're an action figure now. But I mean, honestly, that's the other cool part, is he's the same kid. He comes home. When he comes home, he hangs out with his buddies. He'll go, if he's back at a time where he can go shoot something, he'll go shoot something, or he'll go fish. And,
and blindfolded, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yes,
yeah, but I mean, he's just the same kid. He'll do the same stuff, and he's not too big to go out with anyone or go anywhere, and he'll still go lift in the high school weight room. I mean, he's a really down to earth kid, and he truly cares. I think that's a neat part. He still truly cares about his legacy that he's leaving. Continuing by playing at Ohio State. What he can do to help the kids that are still here too.
Yeah. So on the Buckeye Boys channel anyway, we're really passionate about recruiting, and we talk to a lot of parents all the time about how recruiting has changed and what that means for support groups around recruits and recruits themselves. With the change in how recruiting has happened, have you seen like the importance of who recruits surround themselves with kind of be more important now these days? Because when money gets involved, obviously, you might have some people coming in right out of nowhere to get involved in that. Is that something you've seen as a high school coach? Like, you got to really be careful of who you surround yourself with. Now, I know this is like a general life lesson anyway, but has there been a little bit of an uptick in that because of the way recruiting has changed?
Yeah, I think we're very intentional with all of our players of, hey, you've got to control not even just who you surround yourself with, but anything you put out there. When anything goes on the internet, it's there forever. No matter how fast you think you delete it, someone's got it. So anything you do, anything you say, and that's, I think we're very intentional about trying to help kids through those moments and just make sure that they don't have a slip up that costs them their future, regardless of what their future is. Even if it's not in football, you do the wrong thing, you eliminate a bunch of careers, opportunities from your plate. So we're very intentional with that part. And I think that's just a crucial thing for everybody now. I mean, you're one mistake away from being unemployed, no matter what you're employed doing right now. So just the scrutiny that's involved for everybody and how easy it is. I mean, I think you said you're the same age as me. I mean, the advantage we had is there wasn't a cell phone with a camera connected to the internet when we were young and making bad decisions. So, the kids today have it pretty hard, honestly, because they do have a cell phone that has a camera that's connected to everybody in the world.
Yep.
Yeah. I wouldn't want my upbringing with a camera constantly around, always there. These kids, you're absolutely right. They have to grow up a different way. Like, anything they do can be on the internet in a split second. Before we get to the rest of it, Coach, we got to play a quick commercial. Dano Seasoning, yum, yum.
Yum, get you some. Yum, yum, get you some. Yum, yum, get you some. Yum, yum, get you some.
Dano Seasoning, food's favorite flavor.
Yum, yum, get you some.
I'm Joe Burrito, your favorite burrito. Whoa, whoa.
Joe, we
Hey.
all know you're the best.
What?
You can always do better.
What you got?
Try the new Dano's Hot Chipotle.
Hey. Ooh, that's spicy. Yum, yum.
Yum, yum, get you some.
I'm hungry. I'm getting me some now. Yeah.
For sure. I'm starving now. All right. Coach, put yourself in Ryan Day's shoes right now. You got a quarterback coming in, transferred from Alabama. You got your man, Kienholz, coming in. He's been there for 3 years. What do you feel like is the benefit of naming a starter or even a leader, a front runner at this point? Is there an advantage to that at all?
I think there could be. It's not a cop-out, but there could be. But, I mean, I think you've got to be in the locker room to know. Because I think the thing that you can't see from the outside, and I don't know the answer to this, so don't think I'm leading anything on, is just the team, and who's winning the team, because it's not just necessarily about, you're great at the end of the day. Obviously, if it's close, it's going to involve more than that. And you get the sense that it's close right now. And I think the temperature of the locker room is going to be the most important part. If you get a team that's ready with somebody and they're like, hey, this is our guy, we believe in this guy, he makes us the best team that we can be, then I think there can be some benefit in the coaches acknowledging that because, ultimately it's the players' team, right? Obviously the coach is the one in charge of it. But, I mean, if you get your team believing, I mean, Tim Tebow was a great college quarterback, but not a great quarterback. He won because he had a team of people that would do whatever they could do to help him win. And if you're sensing that, I think that can help. If you're not sensing that, then I don't think you do.
And Ryan Day kind of leaned on that. He said in his press conference, there's more to being a quarterback at Ohio State than just what you're doing out on the field. You got to get the team ready. You got to get yourself ready because once that pressure hits, you lose a game to Texas opening up, or you fumble, or you throw that interception that loses the game, pressure's on right now. You're on the cooker, and it's not going to stop until you change it. Like, fans will turn on you quick, or they will praise you quick. So you got to shut out the noise and concentrate on ball. Can Kienholz shut out the noise and concentrate on ball?
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny when he was back, before spring ball, we chatted, and I'm just like, I read stuff. It's okay for me to read all the different stuff that's out there because I'm not him.
Yeah.
But I asked a couple questions to him just about certain things and things that if he were reading, he would definitely have seen it. And he's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I'm like, it's a good answer. That's a good answer. And, that's, he's one of those guys. He's like, I mean, I have the stuff so that I can hit post and do all the stuff that he's got to do on there. But he's like, there's no DMs, there's no instant or the direct messages or any of that other stuff. He's just like, it's a one-way communication with that. And just the fact that that's his mentality. I mean, he's right where he needs to be. And again, I think that a lot of that goes back into that confidence level. When you're truly confident, you don't need to go out and look for affirmation because you have it within yourself and within your teammates.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we've seen the example. I mean, just at Ohio State with quarterbacks that have different skill sets, different leadership abilities on the field, whether they can tune out that outside noise or not, and you get different results from each kind. Will Howard, very fiery on the field, great leader in the room. And then you got Kyle McCord, different type of quarterback. We saw different results there. Coach, can you tell us any secrets about the quarterback battle that you're not supposed to tell us? No, that's not my real question. But I was going to ask you more of a general question about high school coaching, because when I sit back and I watch Ryan Day, what he's doing with this program, the one thing that I see more than anything is culture, building a culture of not only coaches, but team that genuinely care about their players and their teammates as men, as people, then as football players. So for you, man, like if I give you three things, culture, talent, and money, like what's the most important thing about a football team, man? If you could only pick one of those, which one do you want?
Yeah, without doubt, it's culture. I mean, that's the most important thing. I mean, and again, I think we were talking pre-show. I mean, with our 7 state championships, we've won 2 of them, maybe 3 of them with the best teams. I mean, if you're looking at talent or paper, but I mean, we've got kids that want to work as hard as they can for each other, and they don't want to disappoint each other, and that's what it takes, and I think that's what you saw. And I mean, talking to Lincoln back during the run, the playoff run and stuff, I mean, that was the most proud that I had pride I guess I had for him was, I was like, well, you get to be a Notre Dame quarterback this week. How's that going to be? He's like, dude, they do a lot of things we did in high school. This is going to be great. I'm going to be a really good look for these guys. And I mean, to hear someone as talented, and I mean, you got to remember that's a very difficult transition for any kid that comes into an Ohio State level program. That's maybe not Jeremiah Smith, where they're the best player from their high school. Every player on Ohio State probably is. Yep. And to come in and be excited about doing something on the scout team, most people probably don't have that huge desire for that. But he saw the value that he brought the team in doing that, and that was exciting because it's still competing, So I think that speaks volumes to the culture that established there. And again, it's easy to see why he fell in love with that aspect of it. But I said I would say that's 1, 2, and 3 for me. Talent helps, but
yeah. So it sounds like you answered the next question I would have is: have you seen that culture that Ryan Day and Ohio State has change and form Lincoln? And have you just seen it affect his life?
Yeah, I really do think you can see that just in, again, all those little things. I mean, the things that he's excited about, never once is, I mean, I'm sure he's doing just fine for himself with NIL. That's not what he talks about. That's not what he's excited about. I mean, he's excited about his teammates. He's excited about, he loves talking about the different things that he gets to do off the field with his guys. And that's what you hear in high school, because that's what they do in high school, right? You hang with your buddies when you're not there. And to be able to find that kind of guys and that core group of guys that you still love when you're in college, that's always the challenge. And I think sports is a great way to do that. But just in terms of our players from Pierre that have gone and played college at any level, I would say the ones that make it and stick it out are the ones where those programs have a culture that's very, very high in accountability, high in responsibility, and they develop those relationships. And the ones that they don't make it all through college playing are the ones that they never actually feel that connection to the program. They may have it with the player, but maybe not to the program. And then that's why they ultimately don't make it through their career.
Amen.
Hey, Coach, you might not change Ryan Day's decision, but you're changing Robert Howard's. He said, I have always liked Lincoln, but after this, I'm feeling some future bias setting in. So, man, keep doing good work. You got to keep talking about Lincoln like this because the fans love it. I mean, they just want more. They like having you on here. You're awesome to talk to. One more thing that I want to ask before I let Dev ask another question. Tell the Buckeye Nation something about Lincoln that we don't know. Anything about it. Could be funny, could be serious.
So I was also our head hockey coach during the time that he was being recruited. And in the summer we were doing camps and stuff, our off-season stuff for hockey. And, this was during the summer prior to his senior year. So he kind of had all 4 weeks in a row of official visit. And he actually had come back and we would meet at the hockey rink because that's where I was when the time that he was available. And we would talk kind of through his visit and all those things. And then he's like, hey, you want to play one-on-one? And I'm just like, no. The worst thing in the world would be you putting on skates, going out there and getting hurt, and then us not having you for football. We're not doing that. He's like, dude, I'll beat you. I'll dance right around you. And I'm like, dude, do you even know how to skate? He's like, I played hockey. I'm like, yeah, until you were like 10. And he got on. He put the skates on. He came out. We didn't end up really playing one-on-one, but he went out and he was quite a bit better than some of the other people there. And it was amazing. I'm like, gosh, man, is there anything that movement-wise you just can't do? And he's like, yeah, I was kind of rusty, but I could probably do that. And I'm like, yeah, you probably would have been one of our best players if you would, not stopped and picked basketball, which you were also a Division I athlete if you wanted to be too. So, but yeah, he just on a whim threw on some hockey skates, was in gym shorts and a t-shirt, threw on a helmet and went out and played hockey for an hour.
So if you had him for 4 years in hockey, you think he could have, made it at Ohio State as a hockey player?
I don't know. Hockey's such a different sport just because not out of Pierre. We have one kid that's up in Muskegon in the USHL that was from our program. But I mean, he played as an 8th grader on varsity and then had to leave. So I'm happy he didn't stick with hockey because if he was too good, then he'd have left and we never would have got him in football.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different sport altogether.
Yeah.
We hear people talking about Lincoln all the time. And, if you don't think he's going to be a quarterback, if you don't think he's going to be the starting quarterback, you hear people say, man, this dude's athletic enough, put him in a different position. Let him learn a different position. But I think he's going to make a great quarterback. But I'm going to steal a little bit of a two-parter here. Let me make sure I remember my first question. I do. As a high school coach, I already know the answer to this, but is it a bad thing to not have an answer for who's the starting quarterback this time of year if you were a college coach? Is it a bad thing?
No, I don't think so. Again, I think everyone's kind of got your ideas, but I really think there's so much to be said about winning the team over. Because again, if it's almost works backwards for you, if you name a starter that the team doesn't buy into right away, then now you're adding more pressure to that person, because if they don't eventually win the team over, that's where you see the friction set in. And that's where you can see a divide come into the team where, again, if the team wants it and you don't want it, then that can also create a divide, because then are you not trusting the team or what is it? So, unless it's a super clear one guy is, head, shoulders, knees, and toes above the other, I really don't think it's smart to have an answer unless the team has chosen in the locker room.
Yeah, so it's not always as simple as, okay, who's playing the absolute best football right now?
No,
it's not always that simple. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, and it could change from, spring to fall. Like, things are going to change. But when is the optimal time to make that decision?
I honestly, we've kind of done some of that in the past, not with Lincoln, but prior to Lincoln, we started a season, where we kind of had two guys that we weren't entirely sure yet. And we kind of tried the split time, and we did this one total time, and it was enough to know that we should never do that ever again. Just because then you've got your offense that is like leader, and then the next drive, they're like leader, and they get confused, and then those players get confused. And, ultimately we just had to pick, and it was a tough choice. We ended up making a good one, I guess. He ended up being a Gatorade Player of the Year, the year prior to Lincoln taking over. But, when he started, it was every bit a conversation and a competition, and both kids wanted it. Both kids were good, very different quarterbacks. But, had we just picked right away, we didn't know that we would pick right. And by playing it out, I think we actually set our offense back a couple weeks, because then now you're wasting time practicing plays that are totally different than what you're going to run once you pick the other guy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's a good point, man. I got to get my final question anyway. I just got to get your take, because, again, college football has changed so much. I know there's positives and negatives to everything, but you're pretty entwined in this high school football, and because of that, this college football world, you're beside these athletes all the time. Let me hear it, man. Transfer portal. What's your thoughts, dude?
I feel, I really truly feel for college coaches right now, and for players. Really, there's not anyone I feel super like, yeah, it'd be awesome to be fill in that sentence. Because, with coaching, I was a small college coach before we moved here. And, once you got someone on campus, you felt pretty good because they're real and they're there. But then now you still have to recruit them. There's never a moment you can't be recruiting in today's world. And then, the other hard part, and I think I kind of said this in the beginning, where 9 years ago there was rules and they were followed for the most part. And now there's rules, and they're kind of followed, or they're vague enough where they don't have to follow. Because there's people contacting people legally, illegally, every which way possible. And that's just an impossible situation for young kids to have to make. But then it's also hard because coaches, again, the amount of pressure to win is higher than it ever is. And, it really, I don't envy a lot of the people that are in the college business right now.
I think I got the answer to that. I think Ryan Day figured that answer out too, man. There's everybody running around wanting to know what the answer to the transfer portal is. I got it for you right here. Ryan Day's had it for a couple years now. Culture.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Build the culture, man.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And that's what he's done. These humans, they're grown beyond their years. They're coming in men. 18-year-old men are making better decisions than most adults. And I don't know how Ryan Day is finding these people. I think he's starting with families. Kienholz must have an awesome surrounding cast. He's got to. Just the way he carries himself, the way he's a team player. he had to have grown up and someone has really led him the right way, because that's all Ohio State's getting right now is quality. I say 10-star dudes, 5-star athletes, 5-star families.
Amen.
Yeah, and I think that's the challenge at the collegiate level. I mean, it's not like you don't see this in high school, but I mean, you've got to find those people everywhere in America or in the world, honestly. I mean, and you've got to go, and every support system looks totally different. Not every support system is a 2-parent household where they get their basic
Correct.
needs met. But they, where are they getting their support from, and is it healthy support? I almost think that's kind of some of the bigger challenges for those college coaches is they may be supported, but if it's a support system that will go negative with money or negative when you move away, then, maybe that's not the right fit. And, I think that's always a challenge for the coaches is you're balancing the fit and the talent. And I think you're seeing some programs go all out for the talent, and that's why they lose people over and over. And by finding, again, I think Coach Day has found a lot of people with that fit portion, and a lot of it's culture, but you're also finding the ones that the support system can support them when they get to Ohio State, regardless of where they're from.
Yeah, you drilled it, man. I'm super passionate about the recruiting side, and me and my other co-host, Mello, we've interviewed several recruits and players at Ohio State, and there is a pattern. I promise you, man, there's a pattern. Number one is these young men in themselves are exactly young men, man, right? And it's kind of crazy. I don't like really putting this, man. They all are big on faith, man. And I'm not saying that's a prerequisite to come here, but every one of them, man, we're huge on, Jesus Christ saved my life 5 years ago, dude. I get goosebumps talking about him all the time. So, but that's the number one pattern, man. And then these kids got a good head on their shoulders. And then you go and meet their parents and you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense, man. That makes sense why that has. And today with recruiting, with NIL involved, it's always been important, but dude, it is so important now for these recruits to be surrounded by good support groups. I mean, even just talking to you, Coach, man, I mean, no wonder, Lincoln has turned out to be the man that he is because he's surrounded by you and his family and other people. And in today's world, there's plenty of people not doing the right thing that aren't going to have these recruits' best interest in heart. They might have, hey, we want you to get the biggest paycheck in the NFL, or we want you to get the biggest paycheck right now, right? But that's not always what's best for these players, man. So I'm very passionate about that, and and I love, both of you guys made some really good points. I appreciate you sharing that, Coach.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. What does Lincoln have to do to earn that starting position in your mind? And can it be done in the spring game?
I don't know. I really think the big unknown is what the locker room's like. And I think you'll get probably a good picture of that Saturday because you can kind of see with the cameras on all of it. Seeing a highlight is one thing, but you're not seeing the body language in the huddle and out of the huddle. You're not seeing the body language at the line of scrimmage. You're seeing them catch a snap, drop back, and throw a ball. And without seeing the full picture, it's hard to know where the team is at in regards to each quarterback, So I think you'll learn some hopefully from the game. At least I'm excited to learn some hopefully from the game on that side of it. But I think that was every conversation we've had with when he's been back or anything about this is hey, you go out and you win the team. I mean, and that's Coach Day had said he wants the hardest workers to be the quarterbacks, and I think that was the moment where I'm like, well, hey, if that's real, Lincoln's the dude, because you're not going to outwork that kid. And he's just one that's consistently throughout his whole life been a competitor to that level that he elevates everybody else. And that's what you want, of course.
Before we go ahead.
I was going to say something. Yeah, along that lines, it's no surprise that to me, the number one overall theme coming out of this spring based off the coaches' interviews and the players' interviews is leadership. Right? Like the coaches are looking for leadership. The players are being asked to step up as leaders. I mean, when you lose 17 leaders on a team, 17 draft eligible players leave your team, and every one of them were leaders on the team. So, and no, it's no wonder why this spring you always hear these coaches. Well, I'm just trying to get KJ to be a better leader. I'm trying to get Lincoln to to get out of a shell and be a better leader. And that's, to me, the number one overall theme that I'm hearing come out of this spring is these coaches, they want leaders, man. And I think that might answer our question as Ohio State fans as to why we're not hearing more about the quarterback battle. And you hit on it, Coach, because the locker room. The quarterback has to have that locker room, and they're not going to get a locker room by one spring. It's not going to happen. So love it.
No, not at all. And this is the problem with this team, because all that experience left. There's only a few guys coming back that have that leadership capability. So some of the young guns, they're going to have to rise up, and we're just waiting to see what happens in the spring game. 2 days away. If you don't have your tickets, go get them now. $8. $8. You might as well go get a ticket, because there's a lot to be seen. Ryan Day is showing off the rings. They're introducing those. You get to see a quarterback battle. I don't think you're going to see live hits like we saw in the scrimmage in the Woody, but you're going to see live hits on the running backs, just not the quarterbacks. You get to see Bo Jackson running all over the place. He's a freshman sensation. There's a lot to see, man. You get to see what the D line looks like, who's going to start on the defense, what those linebackers are bringing. Man, there is so much talent on this team. We just haven't been exposed to enough of it yet. It's all around. And I'm just happy for you, Coach Steele, to be able to see this, man. It's one of your own, man, is at Ohio State competing to be the starting quarterback. Man, how does that feel? Last question. How does it feel?
Yeah, I mean, just hearing you say that, it's goosebumps, and it's exciting. I mean,
bro.
Shoot, we can watch every single game. I mean, usually on the weekends, we try and follow as much of our previous players as we can, and a lot of that revolves around a computer and an iPad with different streams. The Division II leagues have their streams and all of that stuff, where we don't got to do that for Lincoln. We flip on ABC and there he is. And that was kind of the surreal things of being able to realize, I'm like, shoot, that could be him. And and if that's him, then, I'm just very excited for him to hopefully reach his goal. And, if he ends up getting the call that week 1 game against Texas, then, he did exactly what he set out to do and enter in that spot. And if he earns it, I'll be very excited that he'll, have every success that he can find. It won't be perfect. It'll be ups and downs, just like everybody else.
Sure.
But it'll be exciting to see what he can do.
Well, Coach, I got to tell you, man, it's been a huge honor sitting here with you, man. It's no wonder you've won 7 state titles, dude. I mean, the aura, the energy that you give out, very humble, very knowledgeable guy. Seems like you really care about these kids. That's the thing that matters, man, the most with anybody that has any influence on young kids, teenagers' lives, man. You want to sound like Coach here on the screen, man, with your values and the things that you consider important in life. So I just wanted to tell you that, Coach. It's been an honor, man. I'm happy for you that you get to see Lincoln Kienholz. Sounds like you absolutely deserve this moment as a coach to soak that in. That's something that you have accomplished in your coaching career. You deserve it, man. 7 state titles, dude. It's well deserved. Final quick question, man. If Lincoln Kienholz is a starting quarterback, can he win the Buckeyes the national title this year?
Well, I shouldn't say it would be easier than winning his junior year state title here, because obviously they've got a long and winding road. But I mean, he's got such incredible athletes around him there. And I know, and he loves his teammates. His teammates, I know, love him in different ways off the field too. And I just think that's the part that he's going to understand. Jeremiah Smith is one-on-one. Jeremiah Smith could get the ball. He's going to get those things, and I have no reason to doubt. I think a lot of people doubted him when he started here as a sophomore and a junior, and he made a way to do it every single year. So I don't see why it would be any different.
Amen, man.
That's awesome. All right. Well, since you're new to Buckeye Nation, OH, Coach Steele.
I-O.
There we go. Hey, we got him. You just earned Buckeye Nation a lot of points from Buckeye Nation right there. And you were already earning it. Everyone now, you got a small piece of the Buckeye faction that's like, yo, I am rooting for Lincoln all the way. And they're saying it in the chat, man. So Thank you for joining us. Thank you for, telling us, giving us a little bit of an inside look on Lincoln, and we're rooting for him. We're rooting for you. So now I'll be checking out, the Governors, man. I want to see how you do this fall, and good luck. And I appreciate you coming on. You're very genuine. You gave us like great insight, man. Great insight on everything that it's like to be, number one, a top high school coach, and having a player like that phenomenally. It's just so different, coming from Pierre, South Dakota, and having a guy like that that's getting offers left and right. Because like you said, the phone blowing up, it's like, I can't wrap my head around just constantly phone ringing, and it's coaches that want me to, hey, come on over here. We need you. We want you. We got to have you. Here's this much money. Here's this, here's that. Man, it's got to be a wild ride. And enjoy it, man. Enjoy this process, and good luck this season.
Yeah, thanks, and appreciate you guys. I think you guys are part of what makes college football special and what makes it exciting for all the kids. I mean, again, that's ultimately the goal, is that they have wonderful experiences, and I know you guys are a big part of making sure that happens and getting fans excited about the season, and ultimately in the seats making it a great atmosphere.
All right. Well, when he wins that starting job, you're coming back on. We'll get you.
Sounds good.
God
sounds good.
God
Appreciate
bless.
you guys.
Take care. Everyone have
You
a
too.
great evening.
Too.
Peace out. I'll add a little video. Why not? A little bit of the highlights. I slowed them down from the practice, but that beautiful ball, man, it was, once I saw that, I was just like, holy crap, we got ourselves a quarterback battle. That deep one, man. And then, like I said, he was spreading around, getting the backs out of the backfield. He got Jeremiah Smith open. He got it to a tight end, and he got it to Ennis on several occasions. Like everywhere you could possibly get the ball, he was getting it there. Mylon Graham, he was catching balls all over the place. It didn't matter who was quarterback, but man, it was impressive to watch.
Yeah, for those of y'all that questioned Lincoln Kienholz as a freshman, as a sophomore, and even as a junior, man, what's coming out of the Woody right now is, even if you were right in questioning him, is how much he has changed as a football player this year. The work that he put in, because he knew this was his chance. This is the first time in his career that he's had the opportunity like this. And everything we're hearing about him, man, is he put that work in, dude. He put that work in,
Absolutely.
that studying in, that extra time. So whatever you think you thought you knew about Lincoln Kienholz, if you didn't think he could be a starting quarterback, man, I would advise you changing those thoughts that you got in your mind.
Get to that spring game. God bless. Buckeye backers are out. Thanks again for you both joining us on the show. It was a pleasure, man. It was awesome. It was great to hear you talk, man. It was great to hear your advice, and good luck again this season, Coach Steele.
Thanks, guys.
Peace.
Appreciate it.